Shalom, I'm Deborah Ball, president of Beth Israel Congregation. I'm here today with Rabbi Caine. We want to talk with you about work that the board has been engaged in over the last couple of years, share with you what we've been up to, and invite you in to contribute to the progress of this project. So we're going to share our screen. We've prepared a few slides that we think will help make it easier to follow what we're talking with you about. So the topic that we're sharing with you today is work that we've been doing on the mission, vision, and strategy for our congregation. Today, what we'll be doing is three things. We'll explain why we're here, what we're trying to do in this presentation. We'll explain what we've been up to, and then we'll invite you in to make comments and suggestions through a series of parlor meetings that we'll be staging over the next several weeks, and that we hope that you'll participate in and contribute your perspectives, your thoughts, and ways to improve what we've been doing. So the project that we've been engaged in, as I said, is to develop and affirm the mission and vision of the congregation. Just before the pandemic, the board set out to develop a strategic plan for Beth Israel. Little did we know that it wouldn't go smoothly from that point out, given that we became all on Zoom after that. But the first step was to craft a statement of our mission and vision for the congregation. The next step was to identify what would we have to do to carry out the mission and vision. What would be the key areas of strategy that we would have to go through over the next 5 years to achieve those goals? So the goal of our presentation today is to share the current drafts of the mission vision and the areas for strategic planning. And following this, as I mentioned a moment ago, there will be parlor meetings on Zoom led by members of the board that we hope you'll join. I'll explain more about those at the end of this presentation. So Rabbi Caine, can you talk about the mission that we drafted and the stage that it's at right now?
Absolutely. Thank you, Deborah. The synagogue is honestly the continuation of the temple in this world. And as such, it's a place that connects hearts and minds and bodies and people with each other and to Torah. So our primary mission is to connect people to Torah in all of the ways that it elevates us and connects with us individually. It's the great Hasidic saying, sometimes there's a particular word or particular value, particular holiday or teaching that we most connect with. And that spark is shared with other people's sparks to create the fire that burns in the temple. So our mission is to use the best resources in the world, especially from the conservative movement, and to connect people to Torah and to each other through our practices and texts, through our community interactions with the larger world and with each other, and to be a welcoming place for those sparks in gathering, learning, prayer, and joy.
So in order to carry out a mission of that scope, we had to be strategic about what would be the areas of work that would be important to be working on over the next 5 years to achieve that. We have here 9 areas of work that are strategic for achieving that vision. And what Rabbi Caine and I will do now is talk briefly about each of these. But what we'll be asking you to do is to dive into them more together with us in these parlor meetings and to consider how they could be improved, what might be missing, and so on. Rabbi Caine?
Certainly. To connect each other as souls, we have to know who we are. Muriel Rukeyser famously said, the world's made of stories, not of atoms. So how do we share our stories with each other? How is it that when you show up at the synagogue, at the house of Israel, that you are known and that you know others? So being a warm and welcoming place of gatherings that are in ritual, of learning, of celebration, and of mutual support. Having a caring community where in times of strength, you can share your strengths with others, and in times of challenge, you can be helped with the strengths of others and have others who understand your story, connect with their story, and support each other through all stages of life. For our children, raising them in a new world, a world in which they need to be confident participants in Jewish life, and they will be consistently called upon to be ambassadors of Judaism and of their own Jewish identities, which are diverse to the wider world. We're building a structured and joyful religious school, increase engaging youth programming, and provide opportunities for service and leadership. And when we gather and engage with programming and learning, it needs to be the kind that recognizes your spark, that really touches hearts. There's all kinds of, we access all kinds of things now through the world in wondrous ways. But when we're accessing things from a distance, do they know who we are? Are we personally touched? So to create programming, ritual experiences that truly achieve that purpose.
So I'll talk about the other 5 areas briefly. In addition to what you just said, Rabbi Caine, there are a number of other areas that we consider to be strategic. One of them has to do with the way we engage in the broader world. How do we express Jewish social conscience through acts of tikkun olam? And how do we support human rights? There are many, many members in our congregation who are deeply engaged in this work. And how can we as a community gather together to enact Jewish values and our mission in the ways we enact that in the world? Obviously, we have to attend to the structure of Beth Israel, so there's work that we need to do on improving and developing the governance and organizational management of the synagogue. We clearly, and you've heard me talk about this before, need to develop a stable, long-term financial structure and a culture of philanthropy that will enable us to do the things that we're talking about here. We really want to think carefully about how we identify and attract new members to our community who can enrich it, who can find solace here, who can find the kinds of activity that we've been talking about, and how we at the same time deepen our connections with those of you who've been members for any number of years and are crucial to this community. And finally, of course, there's our building. Even though we've learned in the last year that our building is only one of the ways that we form a community, but the building matters, and our grounds matter, and our facilities matter, and it will be important to be attending to those strategically as well. So we need you. At this point, the board has done a lot of work, but these things are penultimate drafts. We're asking you, does this vision that we're talking about for Beth Israel, does it ring true? Is it appealing to you? Do you think it's missing something that you hold crucial to your vision, to your ideas about this congregation? And then when you think about the strategic areas that we've outlined, do those seem well thought out to you? Are these the key areas in which we need strategy? Do you think there are elements missing in what we've sketched? This is the purpose of the parlor meetings. We hope that you'll make time to attend a parlor meeting at a time that's convenient for you sometime over the next several weeks. Please look for a message that explains to you how you can sign up for these. Please attend. We'll be taking notes in these meetings, and we'll use what comes up in these parlor meetings to continue to refine and finalize this vision and this mission for Beth Israel. This is a moment of renewal for us as a community. We've been through a lot in the last few years, and we have so much to build on from all of the people who have helped to build this congregation over more than 100 years. But this is a moment of opportunity for us, and we invite you in to contribute to it. Thanks for listening to this today, and we look forward to your ideas.